Okay, this is the monthly meeting of the Newcastle Fire District #1 Board of Fire Commissioners, Thursday, June 20th, 2024. The time is 18:33, and I'd like to have Nancy, would you do the pledge to the flag, please?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America,
and
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Moment of silence for deceased and people that are under the weather. Thank you.
Does that include you?
Yes. Yeah, actually, Dwight,
Okay.
you should disclose that you are.
I'm about
okay.
to do that. Thank you.
Yep.
We have in attendance tonight Ed Frank, Michael Soldo, Nancy Zezzi, and Dwight Smith. I am Dwight Smith. I am attending virtually because I have come down with a mild case of COVID, and I just felt it was appropriate to keep everybody safe. So I'm attending virtually tonight. Okay. Correspondence. Do we have any correspondence?
So there were three. There was the resignation letter that we received from Mark Green as treasurer.
Okay.
There was a letter from Russell Maitland that was received. And then we received 5 FOIL requests from Mr. Zezzi.
Okay. All right. Thank you. Ed.
Chief Biden reached out to me today. He has several emails that he sent that he's saying that no response was received or any acknowledgement.
Who was that, Nancy?
Chief Paul Iden.
Okay.
Okay. I know myself personally, I've sent a couple of emails I felt were of importance. I didn't receive any acknowledgement or response. I think that's becoming a problem. I know the FOIL requests are really happened because 2 letters were sent to you, Dwight, with regard to the building with questions, no response, along with an email. So this is a compilation of why these letters are starting to come. We really need to be better. I know Chief Biden had mentioned this. Responses are expected. So what do we do with letters and emails that go unnoticed, unacknowledged? Okay,
so one thing that I just want to say is that Ed replied to some of these, and it's been kind of a hectic couple of weeks here. So I will acknowledge that I haven't replied to everyone that has been sent to us. I think Ed did an admirable job, and also I had sent some of the emails, not the FOILs, that former Commissioner Zezzi had sent to us on two occasions. I had sent those questions to our engineering team and to our project manager, and they came back with quite a number of replies. So I think we're tackling it, but it's a slow process, and there's always room for improvement. And I will acknowledge that I have not been up on top of that. So I think we all can jump in when there's a question. If it comes directly to me, certainly it's something that I will respond to. If it comes to the board in general, I think any of us can jump in and fill in the gaps because we're all a team here. So I will take it on as a personal action item to be better at replying to emails, especially if they're addressed to me. So that's what I'm going to say. Do you have more questions on that, Nancy?
Well, I think that the best #1 should be that I received receipt of your email, and I will respond shortly. Otherwise, it's in the dark hole. There is an email and letter that was sent from a citizen with regard to an important matter. She's stating that she has not received a response and is looking to know what the status is. And I'm not going to go any further into that. I think you're all aware of who that person is.
We in either executive session or in a special meeting or something, we can discuss the appropriate response. But I think probably we can agree that there might be a descriptive letter that is sent to her in short order. So yes, we will have to do that. And I appreciate your precise way of wording that. That was very good.
So just, acknowledging something is appropriate, professional thing to do and go from there.
Okay, so next item on the agenda is
Dwight, can we just back up for 1 second? Starting in May 12th, I sent you 25 questions regarding
Right.
the finances. the
Yes,
plan-
and Barry, I'm gonna cut you short here really quick. We have a lot on our plate tonight. I did get a lot of responses to your questions. I haven't mailed everything to you yet. I think the board has seen them, so you might want to ask Commissioner Zezzi if she saw that. I'm not asking her to take it over as an action item, but I think that some of this has been answered. I will make and compile a better letter to you, and I have to leave it at that because we've got a lot to cover tonight.
And I won't respond, say more. Just that if the FOIL requests now are gonna be 20+ days.
Yep.
That's
to
just the
respond to that,
standard.
it's gonna be 2 months before I get a response, to some of those questions. That's it.
Yeah, if we.
That's
if
just the
indeed
New York
we
State
reply.
standard response. That doesn't mean it's gonna take 20 days.
Well,
It's
they
just
should
to
be in the
allow.
file here.
Okay,
All the
we're
questions.
gonna move on to the next item. Chief's report. Do we have that in front of us? I don't have it in front of me. Where did I?
So
put
I
it?
have it in front of us. The chief is at a training tonight. And I can read his expenses into the record if you'd like. There's no old business or membership. New business was that the inspection came in at a total of 16,518.81, which was under budget at the 25,000 mark. They purchased 5 new helmets and 1 pair of structural firefighting boots. Their expenses are $2,467.83, of which we've written a check for the signatures for 2 commissioners.
Excuse me.
2 commissioners to sign so the chief can reimburse their fund. And they had 50 alarms in the month of May, and that is his report.
Okay,
I have one extra thing, just to know. Today, Chief Iden did email me. He is concerned with the firefighting members on the board who are now not making their points, and as a result, will have a deficiency in LoSAP for this year. So he's concerned about that because the board meetings conflict with the training. So he'd like to maybe for next year, think about having board meetings on a different date. He'll see if he could do something with regard to the training, but there is a board member who's not going to qualify for LoSAP this year. So
I'm probably in that ballpark too, I think. I gotta pick it up.
probably 2, you, and that does affect your benefits. So he
Yeah.
wants that noted in the record.
Okay. All right, so approval of the chief's expenditures. Can I get a motion to approve them as read?
Yeah, I approve the chief's.
Right. Do we have a second on that?
Yeah, I'll second that way.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you. All those opposed? None shown. Okay, that is approved. Thank you. Okay, so we have a special meeting. We had a special meeting on 5/13/24. We have to approve those minutes. Does anybody want to make a comment about them? Approve them as read or as sent out? Make a change?
I'll approve those meeting minutes for May
Okay.
13th.
Okay, thank you.
So you're making a motion?
I'm making a motion to.
We have a sec. Well, do we want to do it in
Yeah.
one?
Yes.
One together is fine. And then there's one that'll be forthcoming for an additional special meeting.
Okay. Anybody have a comment or want to make a motion for the regular minutes on the 16th of this month, of last month?
I'll make a motion to approve the special meeting minutes for May 13th, the regular meeting minutes with the amendment. Thank you, Christine,
Yep.
for May 16th. The
Okay.
executive session meeting minutes for May 30th, and the special meeting minutes also for May 30th.
Awesome. Do we have a second on that?
I'll second that.
Thank you. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. All right. Any opposed? Okay, thank you. Those were approved then. Thank you. Okay, I have a broken report here. I'm gonna go into committee reports. As far as trucks are concerned, we were supposed to take the rescue up to our service center in the Brewster area. They called me in the morning of Wednesday. They were supposed to take it Wednesday. They called me and they said they had an issue the previous night and they couldn't take it. So we've rescheduled for this coming Wednesday. Hopefully that will get done. It's for a annual PM servicing and a recall for a cross member on the frame. So we're hoping to get that in as soon as possible. As it stands now, it is not taken out of service. There is no issue with it right now. It's a preventive kind of issue. As far as communications is concerned, Chief Lang had ordered or had asked me to order 5 of the new style pagers. I don't know if you guys can see it. You see that pager there?
Mm-hmm.
Got a little antenna on it and everything. It's an interesting little pager. It's got a lot of features. And the nice thing about it is it just doesn't listen to the initial page when the page is given out over from county control. It actually can listen to the trunking channel, which is quasi encrypted. So that gives the firefighter an opportunity to listen to the page initially, and then as he's or she is on her way to the fire scene, the firehouse, they can actually listen to the radio traffic to hear, updates. Because after the page is given out, then it's all the messaging is on the trunking system. It also has the option of listening to adjacent towns and fire ground frequencies. So it's a real good thing. This is a beta unit. We have it programmed the way Chief Lang likes. I think there might be one change that he was talking about. And we're going to implement that as soon as he gets back, from his personal vacation. We had I'm going to speak for you just a little bit here, and you can add to this. I'll turn it over to you in a minute. We had a meeting on Friday, a Zoom meeting, I think it was, but I was not able to attend via Zoom. I was on the phone. And it was a meeting to vet the various bidders for the expansion project. I attended all but one because work got in my way. And our project manager went through one by one each of the bidders, asking them questions, very pointed questions, very specific questions that could allow or disallow them to be part of our project. And it looked and sounded to me like they were really solid questions. And I think Kevin, our project manager, will be giving us a report in short order. I haven't seen it today, but maybe it will be here shortly, about his opinion on that. The one bidder we don't have yet is a plumbing bidder, and the plumbing bids are going to be going out soon. I think they might have actually gone out, and I think the bid opening is on the 28th, if I'm not mistaken. I don't have the calendar in front of me.
Correct,
So,
at 1 p.m.
yeah, right, at the firehouse, right?
Yep.
Okay. Ed, do you have any more comments on that conference call, Zoom meetings that we had on Friday?
Well, okay, sure. So Kevin conducted the scope meetings, and he sent out to us a copy of all the signed contractors, which included Intricate HVAC Company, Toll Electric Company, SRI Fire Sprinkler Company, Mercia Construction Corp. So I guess I believe everybody's probably seen these. So and I guess it'll be put on the website, but you got a copy of these things.
I'll have to look. I don't know that I got those actually, but I'll check.
And also at the same time, Kevin announced who was going to be our on-site day-to-day construction manager. And excuse me if I don't pronounce his name correctly, but it's
I think it's Ready.
Ready, but how do you pronounce his last name?
Oh, the last name I don't know. I know his first name is Ready.
G-J-E-C-K-A.
Chakai.
Yeah.
I
Sounds
don't know.
right.
So anyhow, so Ready, and he's a professional engineer, by the way. He is going to be our on-site day-to-day construction manager.
Who's here?
Yeah.
So we're here.
He was at the bid opening.
So I do have a question, and again, this is just for the professional look going forward. Were these scope meetings to be advertised for everyone to attend? Because you did send an email out, Dwight, stating that only 2 commissioners could attend. Otherwise, it would be deemed a meeting.
Yeah, I think I misspoke on that. I think Christine sent out a follow-up saying that it was not a meeting of the commissioners we were attending. I'm sorry. Christine, could you reiterate what you had said in that email?
So the commissioners cannot meet as a quorum virtually. It's not legal in New York State. So if you are going to meet virtually, there needs to be a quorum physically present in this room, and then it would need to be noticed. You can't all join a Zoom from your independent locations and be in a meeting. It's not legal.
Okay, so that was one of the questions I had, and I actually asked Christine and Mike Legori, the attorney, if the scope meeting should have been advertised, because based upon your email, Dwight, it looked like it would be a meeting if more than 2 commissioners attended. Now,
That was my
I-
misunderstanding.
okay, I didn't get any type of response. That's another one of my emails, and just, it's not a good look, number one. And number two, how can the board make an informed decision if we're not included in these types of meetings? Based upon, again, the email that said no more than 2 commissioners could attend. So I
Right.
think going forward with a project of this magnitude, we all should be able to attend, and there has to be a better understanding of, is it a meeting? Is it not a meeting? And of course, this goes back to my question. I asked the question, I did not get a response.
And to go back to your original question, I believe, I take it on myself as having misunderstood that this meeting was allowed to have more than 2 commissioners. I was under the impression, then I was incorrect, that we could only have 2. Now, to my knowledge, we had at one point 4 commissioners there, including you. You were listening, I believe. Charlie was listening. Ed was listening. I was listening. So when I found out Ed was there, I backed away because I was under this misunderstanding. So you were there, and you understand that I would have preferred to have been there if I had understood what Christine just said. So I apologize that, and it was announced to the board members. It was announced to the board members. So we all knew about it. It's just that I misunderstood and misspoke. So I apologize again.
Okay.
But going forward, if you guys want to have a meeting, it does need to be noticed, and 3 of you need to be physically present so members of the public are able to
Sure.
attend unless it's deemed an executive session. The 5 of you cannot join the meeting virtually from your homes and be in a meeting because that constitutes an illegal meeting.
Right, and that's my question. That's why I asked
And
the
I
question.
responded to Mike Legori, and I thought he was responding to you. So I apologize for not responding to you.
Just again, and I'm really not being difficult here, but this is a multi-million-dollar project. We can't accept any more excuses. Everything has to be spelled out. So number one, we're doing it right. We can make informed decisions, but again, based upon the email that went out, I backed out. I did not receive a response from Christine or Mike or you regarding whether or not we all could attend.
You could not all attend. That is clear.
Okay,
It's only
so
2
would
of
have been
you.
nice to know that,
But those were not my meetings. Kevin sent it out. I assumed it was the project committee that was attending. I understand, but I'm allowed to speak too. And the project committee were the ones that were supposed to be attending.
Yeah, I'm asking the question. I'm just saying, Dwight, going forward, we need to be clear as to who can attend. And I think all these meetings should be open to the public and the board. So we can all make an informed decision, because right now it's not looking good.
Well, I think that's, I understand what you're saying, but I don't know that we could have allowed the public to join the committee or to join unless they were all muted, because it would have been, questions from every corner. So I think that might be something we might want to really think about instead. I don't think we can invite the public to at least participate, maybe to view. Maybe that's not a bad thing. So maybe if what Christine is saying, maybe I wasn't wrong. Maybe we can only have 2 members, but I was under the impression that I was wrong initially, that we could have had more than 2 commissioners in the meeting. I guess we have to get clarity on that for the next meeting that we have. So
It's
next,
up to Mike Legori to
Yeah.
give the legal advice as to whether you can really meet or not. I'm just giving you what the rules of New York State are, and I distributed them again last night, just so you would all be aware that you could vote, because there needed to be a quorum physically present in this room in order to have a member that is virtual.
right, thank you.
That is the
Okay,
law.
next, Commissioner Ed Frank, you have a report for us?
Oh, I already given it.
Okay, very good. Is Commissioner Roush there? I don't see him in the room there, no? Okay. Commissioner Soldo.
Yeah, for Turnock, as Christina said, the chief had mentioned in his report, he purchased 5 new helmets and a pair of firefighter boots. As town liaison, I inquired with the assessor down at the town hall, Josh. And as far as 495, he corrected the exemption that we should be getting. There's gonna be no refund issued. We won't see it again. And he basically said that the money that's collected for the fire district anyway comes to us. Basically, the money was returned to us that we paid.
Interesting. Did he explain how it was returned to us?
Because it was collected under the Newcastle Fire District. So all those funds, I think we got the check back in April from the town, right?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So it was included in that, because everything, all the tax that's collected from that is returned to us.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. Very good. All right. Commissioner Zezzi, are you done, Mike? You have any more?
Yeah, I'm finished.
Okay. Commissioner Zezzi, you have a report?
Okay, yes, I do. Okay, so insurance, we're all up to date with regard to personnel insurance. 2062 did have a crack in its windshield. It was covered by insurance. It's been repaired. We're working on an informational guide, the chief and I, with regard to what the members are entitled to with regard to personal insurance. It will also give a good explanation of LoSAP, speaking of LoSAP and points. House, we had an issue with a lower bay door. It's been rectified. The appraisal of Center Street has been done. We should have it. Anything in the mail?
No.
No, okay.
I was there today.
And I'll ask where that is. And you should be getting the census from VFIS shortly for 2023. All members should have that soon. Medical physicals were up to date, legal contract and review. So I've been in touch with the town of Mount Pleasant with regard to hydrant rentals and the fire protection contracts. Mike, do you know where they are? The contracts for Mount Pleasant?
The contract's no.
Yeah, no. So the reason for that is that there are no contracts in the office. We should have those contracts in the office. It's a contract that will expire in December of 2025. We do get payments on those contracts, so we should know what they are. I was able to receive a copy of the contract from Noreen McGinty, the controller of the town. Christine had a copy of the contract, but it was not executed, so that's not a good contract to have. We should be receiving payment in the amount of $264.21 shortly. Okay, so that's for the fire protection contract for the town of Mount Pleasant. The fire hydrant rentals for them, I don't have a number on that, but they're working on that. We should have that number shortly. With regard to Mount Kisco, again, no contract in the office. And the amount that we owe for 2024 is yet to be determined. So that's a large number. And we need to know these numbers for the upcoming budget season. So I just want to let you know that we're working on that. And I do have copies of the signed contracts ready to go. And they were executed a couple of years ago. And that's what for the legal and contract review. With regard to the fire department liaison, everything's working out well. There's a lot of communication going on between the chief, Charles, and myself, and it's working out well. And that's it for me.
Okay, thank you. I don't know if you guys noticed, but my computer just died and I had to boot up. I'm using the iPhone right now. So I don't know what happened. It just crashed and gave me a blue screen. So I apologize for dropping out for about a minute or so there. Okay, very good. I think, Nancy, I dropped out at about the point you were saying that we're getting about 200 something from Mount Pleasant. Is that right?
Mount Pleasant fire protection, 208,260.
All right, thank you.
That should be shortly.
All right.
Robin used to reach out to the town of Mount Kisco to get the amount. Their budget is approved, so they should have that number in theory. So I can ask them to send
I'll
us.
take care. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay, I see Commissioner Roush is here. Charlie, do you have a report of any sort?
Just purchasing. I gave all the others.
Yeah, I have a personal report. I'm officially resigning from head of finance.
Okay. I appreciate your.
I think it is. I've been extremely marginalized. And I've written to the board many, many times. I haven't been able to fulfill my duties. I haven't been able to add value to the position. And I don't know what the underlying reason is, but that's the reason. So, I've basically been, put in a box, told not to come out of the box, and there it is.
Okay, I think we can,
Everything I came in to do and I could add value to, meaning, my experience in, finance and accounting for 35 years, and also project management, has been just completely wasted.
okay,
And it's gone on too long for now. And I've tried to work with the board on this. I've tried to work with treasurers on this, the past two treasurers, and you have basically taken the role, and now you're telling me what I can and can't do. And that's unacceptable. So I get little emails from you saying, hey, Charles, why don't you run with this? Hey, Charles, why don't you run with that? So you're feeding me what my role should be just generally.
and I'm,
And it comes at the point when it's too late. And it's unacceptable because now you're saying, hey, Charles, I need you to step in and look at this bond. Do you know if we're receiving the bond or paying the bond? You just
well,
wrote
Charlie,
it at 3 o'clock this afternoon.
yeah,
What's going
because I
on
got
with
it
this
about 3
bond?
o'clock. Because I got it at about 3 o'clock.
Yeah,
So, Charlie, why don't we do
I'm
this?
gonna ask you a question. Are we receiving the bond or are we paying the bond?
Charlie, let's do this.
So
We have,
here's the other thing that came up recently, Dwight, is I'm leaving the finance team or committee or whatever you want to call it. You didn't tell me that there was an audit going on.
it wasn't going on. It was finished last year, Charlie. It was finished last year
You signed off on it.
in February. In February or early March. Yeah. Because it was done last year, Charlie.
Well, I'm head of finance, right? Why did you sign off on the
Because it
audit?
was directed to the chairman of the board. That was me at that time. Okay.
Why
So-
didn't you bring me in and say, hey, Charlie, why don't you look at this? Because I gotta sign it.
I'll tell you why. Is because the accountant that we had, I'm sorry, not the accountant, the treasurer we had at the time had gone through with the auditors and they had found no discrepancies. And then when we had,
Hold on.
can I finish? I gave you the latitude
No,
of
no,
finishing.
no.
Let me finish.
As soon as.
Well, then there's no
as
point
soon
in
as
talking,
there's an
Charlie, if I
audit-
can't have the floor as well as you.
No, so as soon as somebody says, hey, we have to do an audit, don't you immediately say, hey, let's bring Charles into this?
Charlie, may I speak now? No, I may
No.
not speak. So it's just your floor. That's
No.
all you want to do. Okay, so I think I'm going to curtail the meeting because there's no point in having a meeting if we can't have a civil and courteous discussion.
I'm just
about
telling you how it is, Dwight. and you
No,
don't like
Charlie,
it, and
that's your perception. That's your perception. I'm sorry you
It's
feel
not
that
my
way.
perception.
It
I
is.
didn't know I did not know that there was an audit going on. And I'm
Charles,
head of finance.
Charles,
How screwed
you
up is that?
absolutely did. You were on the finance committee for over a year. As of February, you were on for about 14 months. Robin, our previous treasurer, mentioned several times that she was going to be going through the audit at
I was
any
not
time.
in both audits. I was not
Of
involved.
course it
in
was.
Either
It
audit.
was brought up at meetings multiple times. You could have stepped up and said, I'd like to be a part of it. You could have been a part of it. There's
Bullshit.
no point in arguing with me about it because it was done. And our second treasurer that we had spoken to the first treasurer and also the audit committee, the audit team, and it was all done above board. And then they sent a finalized letter and I signed off on it because it was addressed to me after I had spoken to our second treasurer and that it looked good to him. So I'm sorry you feel that way, but I think we can move forward. I would appreciate you just telling me right now if you will stay on purchasing, technology, house, and fire department liaison.
I will.
Thank you, sir. I
Because I'm
appreciate
doing
that.
it for the membership.
I appreciate that. That's terrific. That's the way we want to handle it. Terrific. Do you have any other comments, Joe?
I'm not letting my guys down.
Okay, terrific, terrific. I appreciate that. That's the way we want to handle this. Do you have anything else you want to bring up on those committees?
The only thing I have is, we cleaned air conditioners this month.
Oh, I thank you. I forgot to mention that. We did have a company come in and hopefully their bill will be paid. To clean the ductless units.
Yep.
All 5 of them in the building. They were filled, just so you know, they hadn't been cleaned, I guess, since they've been installed. They were filled with mold. So they did a great job, cleaning them and all the filters were replaced. And Charlie and I will talk about, maybe having an annual contract with them. We have to see where we stand, with our budget, but it's a good way to keep our members safe. 'Cause
Yeah.
It was
They,
bad.
they, bad.
Yeah, they
They
were
were
very
really nasty.
Was the mold inside or outside or both?
inside. It was all inside the units. It was a mess down into the ducts, not in the ducts, the whole units were filthy.
What company?
Is that We Clean?
We clean, ducts and I forget.
Yeah, it's
Viking.
in the pile
Yeah.
to be.
But they were excellent. Phoenix Mechanical, recommended them. They were very good. And really, it was a mess. So the complaints that we received from the members in the radio room, they were right on point. Because they saw them first.
Okay, good. I'm glad you were able to get that squared away. Terrific.
Yes.
Okay. Anything else, either Nancy or Charlie?
We did go out also for the snowplow bid. So that's out there. It's due on the 30th. 2 contractors have been interested and they're due on the 30th and the bid opening will be July 1st at 10 a.m. here.
Okay, thank you. All right, next up, old business, district policies and discussions. Nancy, you had asked if we would be prepared to discuss, I think it was the purchasing policy.
Yes, but first I'd like to go through, we did have 18 policies that were the
Right.
board through. We had the fire district attorney look at them. They came back, minor adjustments were made. They went out to the membership for review. No comments came back. So I'd like to make a motion to approve those policies because some of them hadn't been done in 25 years and get them up on the site and in the process of being reviewed on an annual basis. So
Is that a motion?
I would like to make a motion
Okay, please do.
approve and I'm gonna read them, the 18 policies that were reviewed and updated by the board. Not only were they reviewed by the board, they were also approved by the fire district attorney. They went out to the membership for comments and concerns with no comments made. I'd like to authorize the release of these policies as official to the membership and have them effective July 1st, 2024. The policies involved are emergency vehicle response guidelines, the FOIL request policy, HIPAA, line of duty death or injury policy, the mandatory mask policy, medical classification policy, which, just a side note, we don't have to put this in. We also verified that policy with interstate operational plan for public health and emergency policy, which will be overseen by the chief. The photo and social media policy, property disposal property, the smoking policy, turnout gear policy, vehicle accident policy, whistleblower policy, the banquet hall policy, dissemination info and computer internet use policy, harassment, bullying, and discrimination policy, the chief's car policy, and the data breach policy, all effective July 1st. And those policies have to be uploaded on the site.
Okay, do we have, go ahead, Ed.
I have a question to Nancy. Is this what you're referring to?
That's the policies of the Board of Fire Commissioners. No,
Oh, okay, you too. Got
no,
it.
I'm talking about all the other ones that I
Oh,
just
okay,
read.
good. Okay, thank you.
Okay, do we have a second for that?
Yeah, I'll second that.
Okay, all right, so on the question, if I may, these policies that we're about to approve, Nancy, these have been brought, these were brought from the lawyer. They approved them. They said, we're okay with them. We looked at them. We said, fine, let's send them out to the membership. And now the membership has had a time to read them, digest them, and now we're about to implement them. Is that correct?
Right, well, first the board looked at them.
Yes.
They made the adjustments and changes. They went to Michael Lowry. He sent
Right.
them. And then they went out to the membership. You should have received a packet.
Yep. Yep.
No comments were received by any of the members. So once the board ratifies them, approves them,
Yeah.
then a sign-off form will go to the membership with all those policies listed that they've been in receipt of them.
Right.
And then next July or next June, they'll be reviewed again.
Okay,
and we
sounds good.
have plenty more
Okay.
to go.
Yeah, right,
Awesome.
exactly. Okay, I don't have any other questions. I'm sorry to hold it up. I just wanted to make sure that we were clear about that they've been to us and the lawyer and all that back and forth. All right, so are we ready to vote on that? It sounds like we have a motion and a second. Anybody have any other comments before we vote? Okay, none heard. All right, I'd like to get a motion, vote on the approval of 18 policies that Nancy just read off. All those in favor, please say aye. Or raise your hand. Aye. All those opposed, please say no. Okay, thank you, Nancy. That has been approved.
Were you a
The only
yes,
thing
Charlie?
I want to say is that they've all been sent to,
You're abstaining. Okay, I just want for the,
okay, they all went to Christine to put them in, formatted manner, so everything
Right.
looks uniform. The only question I had was you had a comment about the footers, if you wanted footers added onto the policies. So you and Christine should get on in together
Yeah.
on that, decide what you want.
All
That
right.
was the thing that's outstanding.
When the initial policies, when we were reviewing the initial policies, they just ran page to page to page, and a new policy would start in the middle of the page, or the bottom of the page, or the top of the page, and it got to be kind of confusing. So Paul was able to break them up so that a policy started on the top of the page. Every time the policy started, it was at the top of the page, and that made it extraordinarily clear. It wouldn't be a bad idea, if it's not too terribly difficult, to include a footer so that when you're copying page 14 of a particular policy, I'm just throwing numbers out. If you copy page number 3 of a policy, it says on the bottom, this is policy number XYZ and page number such and such, so that we have an idea when somebody's referring or referencing something, or we're making red lines in the future on some change. We can see the red line is on this page in such and such a policy with a date, whatever. So that's just a thought we can play
Right,
around.
these are all individual policies, it's just
Yes.
way to stand in to the
Exactly.
way Mike originally sent them back to us. So they
Yes.
are individual policies.
Right. And that's
So
what Paul had
way to
created
send
for us.
them.
Right. That's what Paul had done for us. Okay, terrific.
and I
Well,
believe I separated them out into individuals
Yeah, they
already.
should have been.
Yeah.
okay,
So I will post them individually on the website as their own policies.
Correct.
okay. Sounds good. Sounds
The
good.
other thing was, Mike was good enough to get the purchasing and procurement policy from the town. Did everybody have a chance to look at that and compare it against the existing policy for the district? We're in range basically with the amounts of money as to, where you would require verbal quotes, 3 written quotes, etc. I would recommend that we ask Mike Liguori to take a look at both of them. I think the current policy we have is good. Maybe just adjust the monetary amount ranges. But I would just ask for his input, unless Mike, you have something else to say
No.
about that? And then go from there. I think that's a policy that we can get in place fairly quickly. The other policy that I would recommend doing right away is a travel reimbursement policy. And the easy solution to that is a 1-page policy where the district agrees to go with travel in New York State to follow the New York State guidelines, travel out of New York State, follow the GSA rates. Does everybody know what that is? It's the federal rates. Okay, so you follow their guidelines and their rates, let's say when they're going down to Baltimore or wherever, and then follow the New York State rates when you're traveling within New York State.
That sounds smart.
No,
it sounds good.
I would just recommend that and
Yeah.
ask Mike to review that as well.
Yep, that sounds good. I agree 100% with that. Sounds good. Okay, any other discussion on policies that we want to bring up? Okay, next item under old business. You have something?
If I get those things, those 2 policies to Mike for review.
Yes, please do that. Yeah, if you have them handy for him, sure. Please. And it's always good if you can, just send them out to the entire board as you send them to him. So we are all on the same page going forward.
Yes.
I
and
mean,
that was
I know you were, but
with any email that everybody responds to the entire board, with
Yeah.
any email going in or out. We talked about that before, but I think that's where we're getting into trouble. But I will get that out to Mike LaGuardia.
sounds good. Thank you. All right. So on Friday, we kind of touched on this a few minutes ago. Next item on the under old business is a project update. So on Friday, we had a Zoom/conference call with the lowest responsible bidders. Our project manager, Kevin, ran a good series of meetings. He asked some very pointed questions of each of the contractors. There was one contract that I was a little unsure of. It sounded like he was still in bed. He was a little bit sluggish, but apparently he's not a bad guy. He's got a lot of business experience, and he's not a bad guy to work with, apparently. So,
Was that? What contract? What,
yeah,
specialty?
it was like the next to the last one. I missed the last one, so I don't remember the next to the last one. I gotta say, I don't remember. I have
You
to
know
say,
who that person is.
yeah, I know. I just forgot. If I looked at the list of vendors that were being interviewed, I could pick them out. I just don't remember. I think it was. No, I'm not going to say. I don't remember, honestly. So, but he answered all the questions right. He had all the finances in place. He had the number of employees ready. He was a solid contractor. So it sounded like he was a viable candidate for our expansion project. As we discussed a few minutes ago, I was not the only one in there. If anybody else that was on the call wants to make a comment, please feel free to go right ahead. Okay. All right. New business. First on the item on the agenda, Nancy, you have the snowplow.
I'm sorry, another one. The copier, it's not on here, Christine. Any progress on the?
Oh,
It's in Dwight's court to sign the contract. They're ready to go. As
I'm
soon as we get it signed, it's ready and it can be
I'm
here.
sorry. I have that sheet of paper. It's in my little briefcase. I will sign it. Let me just review it one more time, and I will get that out to you tomorrow, probably, Christine, if that's all right.
Yeah, that's fine. He reached out to me yesterday and
All right.
I'd get back to him.
If you had, I'm not saying it's your fault. It's my fault. It's totally my fault. If you had reached out to me or inquired of it, well, it was a holiday, so whatever. So anyway, I will review that and I'll sign off on that. No problem. I just want to look at it one more time.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's the rate that he said.
Well, and
Yeah.
I do have a couple other things under old business, is I asked this question previously about an explanation for the $1.5 million dollar permissive referendum. I mean, what are those funds being used for? How much are they being used for? Have they already been taken out of the capital reserve? Just, I'd like some guidance as to where that $1.5 million has gone, if it's been used. How much of it has been used? Is any of it still left in the capital reserve buildings? Because you're looking at that reserve to take money out to make up for the deficit. So has that money already been taken out of capital reserve buildings, or is it still in there?
Because all we have is 1.2 left,
1.8.
1.1.
Yeah,
Oh, two.
1.198.
No.
Okay,
Yeah.
so 1.2, thanks.
So I think
Where is that?
Here, let me just attempt to answer this. I think part of the problem is we don't have a person in our treasury position, a treasurer. So when we have somebody that's in that position, they will need a week or two to go through our books and find out where these withdrawals have been made, if they have been made.
Why don't we know this from the previous treasurer, though?
Because we don't have access to those things that are on the computer, Charlie. I don't have access to the computer. So
Well,
Well,
Once-
no,
I'm not trying, listen, I don't want to be combative here. This is not the point. The point is to answer
I'm
Nancy's
just
question.
asking a question.
And I'm telling you that I don't have them because they're on the computer and I don't have QuickBooks experience. So we have to get somebody that can read them and understand that.
So somebody should know the finances, right?
Yeah, right.
Well,
So,
I'm just asking, has that money been withdrawn from the capital reserves? Can
and
anybody?
you've asked that before, and the
I have.
only way we can answer that is by looking at the books, and we don't have somebody that can do that right now. As soon as we have somebody that can do that, we will get that answer. We all need to know that answer. So don't think I'm discounting it. By no means am I discounting your question. That's a question that's top dead center in my book.
But all this time you've assumed the role as treasurer. I don't know why you don't.
I have
Well-
not ever assumed that role, Charles. Never. Never.
Certainly, I haven't been engaged in it.
Charles, there's a difference between being a commissioner and a treasurer. I am not a treasurer. I'm a
Well,
commissioner.
My,
Commissioner sees the treasurer.
well, my concern is the
Nancy,
board voted to approve this permissive referendum.
last
What-
year.
What was the purpose of the referendum? What was the purpose to remove that $1.5 million?
It wasn't one and a half.
Yeah,
There's
that's-
1.2 left. I think
No,
when I
no, no.
saw it, it was 1.5, right?
I mean, I was
No.
present when this happened.
And I think
When they voted.
Robin, the previous treasurer, had shifted money to other accounts to get this ball rolling.
Because there were capital expenditures that were coming in, and she requested the board do a permissive referendum.
Right,
Last
$1.5
year.
million.
And she
Well, that
said
was-
that
That's what was in the capital reserve.
about $1 million of that 1.5 was moved from the capital, from that to the capital reserve. So
Right.
it's about 500,000 left in the current reserve that is of that 1.5.
So there is a reserve set up with $1.5 million.
There's been-
$1.5 million
Yeah.
dollars. in it.
No.
So this money's already been taken out of capital reserve.
It was from the building reserve to the capital reserve, and she said 3 transfers over the period of time to pay the bills that had come in at the time for Wendell and JMC.
So-
And can I just finish, please? This is what she told me, to do those transfers, and that there was still like a few $100,000 left of that transfer, and that it would be listed in the financial statement for 2023, what those transfers were. That's
Okay,
what she told
I want
me.
the board to tell me, or someone to tell me, was $1.5 million in whole taken out of capital reserves and put into another account? Or
No.
was 1.5 million earmarked to be used to pay bills for the building? Such as the architect, Triton Construction, etc. Can anybody tell me? If the answer is no, we need to find out where the $1.5 million is, because it was authorized to be set aside and taken from capital reserve buildings. And if that did take place, what account did it go to? If it didn't take place, how much of the $1.5 million has been used already? There should be an accounting of the capital reserve for the expansion with an actual accounting of how much of this $1.5 million has been used out of the 1.5 that has been authorized to be used for capital reserves project, let's say. And we really need to know if $1.5 million was actually taken out of capital reserve buildings, because you're looking at that account to help make up the deficit of how the bids came in for the actual build out. And it's disturbing to me that we don't know. So we need to find this out ASAP.
I 100% with you, 100% agree with you.
So we need to 100% find it.
We know, absolutely. That's a good way of putting it. I absolutely agree with you. That is something that's going to be worked on as soon as we get a bookkeeper or somebody in the treasury position. Do not ever think that I will let this one slide by. This is not our money. It's the district's money. It's, when I say not ours, it's not our individual money. It's the district's money and it's the township's money. They have a right to know where it is. And I fully agree with you. And we will find out where that is. And next meeting or before, we will have that answer.
Well, you need to
And-
know
and
because
Nancy-
you're already telling Triton that you have the money to move forward. Do you or
Right.
don't?
Nancy, had I had access all along to the books and records as I requested, I would have an answer for you, but I don't have an answer.
Okay, thank you. So you understand my concern?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Okay. You said you had something else?
Did I? Well,
Right,
we
you had a
talked about it
couple.
a little bit before, but I'd like to know how the bond actually works. I mean, are we paying for it? Or do we actually have the money?
No.
What's the,
There's
What's
a
going on?
company out there. There's a company out there that was hired a year and a half ago. And they are going to go out and create a bond that people will be able to buy shares in. And that will, the money from those purchases will go to fund our expansion that we've been allowed to do. So we are not buying the bond. It's it's a bond like a treasury bond kind of thing, or a T-bill. People will buy that, and the money from that will go to fund our expansion. And over time, we will be paying them back with interest. Their money back. That's why there was an important audit last year, so that they would know where we are financially, if we're a sound rating. And so they could give us what our bond rating would be, and therefore our interest rates and things like that. So this is a little bit out of my wheelhouse, but I'm understanding from previous discussions on the board that when we go out to bond, there will be people buying this, and we will get our money in short order. And over time, we're going to have to start paying that money back. Now, there's two ways we can do the bond. I think one is called a band, B-A-N-D. And from my understanding is you borrow some number of dollars.
It's a ban, and it's a bond anticipation note is what it stands for.
I was about to go there. Thank you. So one is a band, and you don't borrow everything you need all at once. And I guess the hope is that the interest rates will continue to go down, and you hope that they don't go up. The other option is to borrow the entire monies that you need or have been authorized to use, and you pay a fixed interest rate, I guess, over time to pay that back. So we are not doing this. There's a company that we have hired to go out to the market and sell this bond on our behalf.
Okay, thank you.
You bet.
And the other question that I've asked multiple times is, what equipment is actually included in the first floor build out? So are lockers included? Is the generator included? Are the washer and dryers, extractors included? Cascade system. What pieces of equipment are included in the money that will be used to complete the first floor and the shell of the second floor? What equipment?
So you're kind of catching me at a bad place here, because I don't have all those answers for you, and I think you probably can find them if you look in those drawings over on the other table, because the tables on those various drawings indicate what is purchased by the customer and what is purchased by the bond. So there are some.
I think that tells what the room is supposed to be used for. It doesn't give the exact
It listed there.
And
So-
the units included?
Well, the
I missed
number, such as laundry, we have a laundry room. How many washers, how many dryers go in there?
It's in the drawings. It's in the drawings.
You don't know?
I thought it's all on the drawings. I thought that is included.
Can anybody tell me? I have to look through the,
I didn't see them. Somebody can show me what they are.
yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that when you get the bottom dollar, that it includes the gear lockers, the equipment, necessary for the decon of firefighters.
Let me kind of cut to the chase here, if I may. If you have questions that are specific, like the lockers or the washers or the extractor, or name something else, the person to ask would be my preference would be for you to give that question to Pete. Pete has his fingers on the pulse of this project, and he would be the right person to ask. I think you're asking me now, and that's I'm not going to say it's unfair, but I don't have all the answers. So
Okay.
I'm thinking that it would be best to ask
I don't
him.
want to get into a back and forth,
Yeah.
but I have asked these questions. I have, and I never, that's why I'm asking now. I haven't gotten the answers. If I had gotten a response, ask Pete, I wouldn't be asking you now. Okay, so these are the reasons that, you know what, just say, I can't answer it, ask Pete. No problem, I will ask him, but this is a question for 3 months I've been waiting on an answer for, because that's gonna affect the bottom line. What's the use of having a decon area with no equipment in it for these firefighters to come in and have no place to go, no washer, nothing? It doesn't make
That's
sense.
not the plan. That's not the plan, to have nothing like that. That's not the plan.
Okay, then
So
that's.
I would, please reach out to Pete. You might even include Bob. They work together. If you have any questions, and there's a woman named Caitlin who is on their staff as well. Even Kevin who is our project manager. So any of those four people will either know the answers to your questions or be able to point you to the person that does. I think
Okay.
that's the solution.
Those
And
are in my letters though, Dwight, too.
I got it. I got it. I've started working on your letters. Thank you. I've started a while back, actually, Barry. All right, new business. Back to you, Nancy. Do we have a snowplow comment? Snowplow bid comment?
No, just the bid, Charlie and I worked on it. The bid went out. It's due June
All right.
30th, opening's July 1st.
Is July 1st? Okay, cool. Thanks. Okay. All right. So the next item is purchasing policy. We kind of touched on that a few minutes ago. An email archiver. So we were talking, Christine and I were talking, she's the current admin for email. She and I were talking and she says, you know, our email is not archived. And Christine, correct me if I'm wrong, jump in here if I say something inaccurate, that we have to keep our email for something like 7 years, I think you said?
Yeah, there's New York State has a retention law and email is covered under a part of that. So we are required to archive our emails so they can't be deleted. So the current vendor gave a quote of $30 and it's 100 gigabytes of storage space. We currently are using 8 gigabytes. So he said it would be several years before we met the threshold, but obviously it can be increased if we get close to it.
Okay. So-
Dwight, regarding that.
Yep. Yeah.
I just want to know, I don't understand something. At the last meeting, it was voted. Christine on email. I agreed to it. I attempted to contact Christine multiple times. Christine. Attempted to
I'm
contact
not going to
you
get into
many
it. Dwight can
times.
answer.
No, I want to know why you didn't answer my
I'm
email.
going to tell you, Charlie, we're not going off the rails right now. We're going to stay on the topic that I brought up a moment ago, talking
Which
about
was
the
email.
archive. I'm talking about the archiver. I want to continue on this, and then when we finish this, we'll move on to the next topic. You're bringing up a second topic. I want to stay on this one for a minute. So my suggestion and recommendation to the board right now is that we allow or we purchase from the vendor a $30 per month for 100 gigabytes of email archiving. We need to keep our email safe for 7 years. And I would like to get a motion that we do that before we have or before the vendor even has a problem. We need this stored so that we can retain and get it if we have any questions going forward, especially in light of this big project coming down. So I would like to ask the board for a moment.
Who would have
I'm sorry,
access?
Nancy.
Would the entire board have access to that archive? Or
I
how
would-
would we access it?
The
I
vendor.
presume they would have to give it to us because we couldn't get into the archive because it's, you know, secure.
Mhm.
So the assumption is if we ask them for emails between this date and that date, or from so-and-so to so-and-so, then we could get them to give us a list of that information. But I don't think we will have intimate access to it. So any other questions? I would like to get a motion on this to move forward.
I'll make that motion, Dwight, that we pay the $30 a month for the 100 gigs of.
Gigs for, okay, do we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Okay, thank you. All those in favor, please say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those against or opposed, please say
I'm
no.
gonna abstain because I just would like to have more information as to how the information's accessed.
I abstain.
That's what, because if I don't know who sent the email to who, you know, maybe, you know, if it was 2 years ago, how am I gonna know? You know,
I
so
think it's
that's
now
why-
going forward. I don't think it goes back in time because there's nothing in
Yeah.
place.
So that's the reason for my abstention.
Okay, all right, so 2 abstentions, 3 in favor. I think that means the motion passed. Okay, all right, Charles, you had a comment about admin, I think it was, for email?
Yeah,
Okay, so go ahead and state your comment again, please.
the comment is, the last meeting, we all agreed, I would be the backup to Christine. And everybody agreed that would be a good thing. I was waiting all for the past month. I've contacted Christine for, I don't know how many times, no response. And I don't know why.
Okay.
I don't know why I didn't get an answer to my inquiries. I was trying to help out. And now I see emails flying from all over the place. I got an email from the ex-treasurer, Rizzo. Like, what's going on?
So I'll answer that in little bites. And if anybody has, clarifications, or if I may misstep someplace, please jump in.
Well,
So-
what my concerns is Christine making
No.
decisions on whether or not to answer an inquiry from.
No. Let me finish. And if anybody, like I says, has any corrections to what I'm saying, please jump in there. So Christine and I discussed, I asked her actually, when I started seeing some of your emails, asking her to make you the admin. I think you made a misstep here. You said just now that we agreed in the last meeting to make you backup, and that's not what you were asking in all these emails back and forth. You were saying you were going to be the primary, you were going to offload her.
I never said primary.
Yeah,
I
you
never
did.
said
Email. Well, that's the
never
reason
said
we can go back
primary.
and email. We can see
Never
it.
said primary, and I wrote a detailed email that
And it-
said it would be beneficial for me to back up Christine, and I
Yeah,
can pull it up right now if you want.
That's not important. That's not really an important part of this conversation right now, but it is part of the conversation. So what I want to just say is, she and I actually were talking about it, and on another topic, I brought up.
So without me, you were discussing without me.
We were talking about other topics, and I brought up that conversation, and I told her to hold off. No,
Yeah,
don't-
let's
don't
not bring Charles into it again. So, you know what, Dwight? This is a democracy, it's not a dictatorship,
you're right.
and you
And
run
Charlie,
a dictatorship.
No, I'm not running it. What we have discovered is that admins can remove other admins from that position. We have discovered that admins can delete email. They can create new emails. An admin can forward emails to people. So
I know what an admin can do. I'm fully aware.
I'm real happy then, because she has reached out to people that she knows professionally and said, does it make sense for a commissioner to have admin rights? And 3 people, a personal friend of mine and 2 professionals that Christine knows, have said that it's not wise for us to be admins of our own email system.
The
Okay,
website
so over the
administrator
past
said it.
month, and all of the emails that I put out there
Yeah.
to say, why am I not getting, Christine, it takes 2 minutes. I called up Firehouse
Solutions.
email. I called them up. What does it take to do it? It takes literally 2 minutes. And I saw her going in and making changes and doing things. And I'm like, why didn't she just click? She's been in there. Why doesn't she just click the button? I don't understand. And not only that, I'm not getting any responses this way. So somebody is withholding her from talking to a commissioner or the commissioners as a group. And I don't.
In general, what we have discovered is that our current technology IT group is able to provide a backup service for us to back up Christine, and they will do it for free unless they are called on to do something. So if Christine is unable to do work on our email, our admin position, we can call them in, and for some fee, nominal, I'm sure, and it would be a short-term thing, they can serve.
So who would be the person to call them in?
They
We
can
would.
have-
Shouldn't that have been me? Right? I was supposed to be her backup.
The idea is we were trying to find out if it's appropriate for a commissioner to have these admin rights. And by all of our research, it looks like that is not an appropriate thing. I called a friend of mine who used to be the CFO of Consumer Reports. And he says in his private affairs, they have, in his church, they have outside people doing admin. because they have a lot of other things they could be doing rather than doing the admin stuff themselves. And so it just
So-
makes
In
not
my,
somebody
in my professional
doing it.
career. In my professional career. Being in big banks, big organizations, big financial firms, small financial firms.
Okay.
You always have a backup. And the reason being is the old adage that what if I get hit by the bus on the way to work?
Knock on wood, that doesn't happen.
Who has the authority besides that person to take over? Because if you leave it to that one person, if you leave it to that one person in an organization and something happens to that one person, and we have a situation where I need some information and I call up and they say, who are you? I'm Charles Roush. I'm with Newcastle Fire District 1. They're gonna be like, well, we don't know you, so you have no access. You have nothing. So it goes down to, on the way to work, if I get hit by a bus, who's my backup?
Right. So here's the thing, Charlie.
So your CEO, I don't know what kind of organization he's running, but it doesn't seem like it's
His
terribly
outfit
efficient.
is running their admin people are external to his organization. So they don't really have to worry about it. They've got professionals doing this for them. They've got backups outside of his organization.
I don't
So
trust anybody outside of my organization.
Well, we need to have somebody that's going to be there for us 24/7. If Christine is not our admin, we can find somebody else that does it externally to our. But Charlie, that's the whole point. You're missing the point. Not having somebody as a commissioner being the IT person, IT admin person that has control of all these things, that can delete email, that can make email, that can forward email, that can do everything. You and I have.
You let somebody outside of your organization have access to your
Email.
proprietary information,
Email.
huh?
Email you're talking about. I'm not talking about banking account money. I'm just talking about email. That's what you're talking about, right?
We could talk about banking stuff.
No, I'm not talking. We're talking about email.
Right?
I'm just trying to make sure
And
you understand.
you're willing to let somebody else have access to it?
It would be A1, Dwight, who is the current vendor that oversees IT and has access to all of the documents and stuff anyway. So
Anyway.
they would just be, they can be it solely. I don't even need to have it at all. I don't.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go by what Christine had mentioned, that she would rather have somebody else assist. So I'm gonna go with Mike Legori's recommendation to have Charlie be the backup with, of course, the board voting on him, excuse me, him to be the backup. I know $30 a month doesn't sound like a lot, but we're looking for money here. Okay, and we've done everything we can to save money.
Two separate things.
So I would like to take a vote on Christine and Charlie to have access to the district's email accounts.
Okay, so I'm not bringing that up as a motion because you're mixing two different things, Nancy. The $30 a month has to do with backing up our email, not administering it.
All right,
Two
I
different
apologize. I
Okay.
apologize.
Just as
So
long as
let's go with Mike Legori's recommendation.
his recommendation is that, well, I don't have it committed to memory. I don't think he was an advocate of having somebody on the board being an admin for our email. I don't have it.
He said in his email, he said to make a motion.
No, he said vote on it. That's one thing that he was saying.
Well, to vote on it, we need to make a motion. I mean, let's
Sure.
not go back and forth. So I make a motion to have Charles Roush be the backup person to Christine's position as the administrator for the email. That's my motion.
All right. Do we have a second?
I figured
Hearing
that.
none.
Okay, thank you. Thank
Do-
you.
All right. So here's a counter motion, which I hope you will agree to. A1 will do the admin for us for free until they are called. If they are called by, let's say, Christine, that they need to do something, let's just say as an arbitrary item, let's say we need to add trucks at bofc1.org. Just a new email address. Let's just say trucks. So if Christine can't do it, she's on vacation or laptop is not booting up or whatever it is, this outfit can do it for us. That's what they will be able to do. If we need to forward email, like Christine has set up, forward email from our previous account treasurer, have it forward to our board members or whoever, forward it to our current treasurer. She can set that up. If she's unable to do it, A1 can do it for us. The idea is it's not somebody on the board doing it. So,
Well, I have two problems with that because we just started getting emails bounced back from Robin Rizzo.
Right.
So I was told back in February that that had already been set up. And now I'm getting emails bounced back to me from Robin Rizzo.
okay.
So if the
Can I
people
finish?
are not comfortable with having a board member as the email administrator, why would you have the secretary be that administrator? Potentially
if I may
can do
finish?
the same thing and privy to the same information.
And also, why weren't our vendors notified that our past treasurer going back to December is no longer with Newcastle Fire District?
They were, but unfortunately, a lot of these emails go to unmonitored mailboxes, and it doesn't happen overnight. It doesn't happen overnight. You've got to agree to that. So some of the emails,
It's been
some of the
6
emails
months.
that we've been getting have been manually updated by Christine. She has been reaching out to them by phone or email and telling them to update their email delivery route to who it's supposed to go to. Some of the email that's been all of a sudden being seen by Robin is in that regard. So if we send an email out, you may get a bounce, and it looks like it's coming from Robin, but it's not. It's from her email address, which very soon should be canceled. It was one of those things where we were transitioning from her. We had a short term between treasurers, and then we had a new treasurer. And we wanted to make sure that any emails going to the first treasurer were not lost in the shuffle. So that's why we didn't turn her email off. And then the second treasurer, he was getting some of these emails, and we thought we were on the road to recovery, and we were about to turn them off so that he didn't have to see her emails. And then he has resigned. So we're back in sort of that second step where we're trying to make sure we don't have things falling through cracks. And it could well be that a couple of our vendors have sent mail and they were not responded to because they did fall through a crack between treasurers and not having a treasurer. So what I would like to do is I would like to have a motion that we allow A1 to be our backup admin service to Christine. And when they need to perform duties that she's unable to, is out of town, on vacation, whatever, then we will have them do that for us, but only when Christine is not able to do that. I would like to have that as a motion.
You want me to second that, Dwight?
I know I'm not stating the motion.
Okay, I'll make the motion. We have
I hear a second on that then.
Second.
Who seconded? Okay, did somebody second it?
I did.
Ed.
Okay,
Commissioner
thanks. All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, all those opposed or abstaining, please say so.
No.
No,
No? Okay, thank
You know.
All right. Let's agree that this will happen for a short term. We'll see how it goes. We are going to make sure that we don't lose any emails in our transition. We have to get the archiving thing in place as soon as possible so that we are up to date with state laws. And, we need to have our stuff maintained for 7 years. And it looks like we will be doing that as soon as we implement this with the email server. All right. Anybody have any other comments right now?
Well, speaking about records.
Yeah.
As you know, we've talked about this. There are no records in the office, no recent records in the office.
For the 3 years,
Excuse me?
the 3 years or 4 years you're looking for?
I think there's 4 years.
Okay.
But there's many years missing in that office. So on the district site, the minutes go from 2001 to the present. So I would like to have the minutes from 2001.
with the gap of the present.
No, it goes through 2001,
So-
through today or through last month.
that are complete.
It looks like they're complete.
Okay.
So I would ask that the minutes that are on the website be printed on 3-hole punch paper, it doesn't matter, put into a binder and kept in the office. So they're there. I mean, must contain information regarding the project. Because we can't find any of the other records. Okay, so I would like to have, excuse me, that done and continue that. All the records be updated in the office. Also have the records in the office. Any of the district files are district property. So if they're located anywhere else, excuse me, they should be moved and kept in the office. As I mentioned last month, the records for 495 King Street are a disaster. They're thrown in the cabinet. I tried to organize them as best I could. So any records for 495 King / 491 King now should be neatly organized and kept in that office. I don't know who has those records. I'm sure anyone sitting on the board that goes back. I mean, you must have emails, you must have something. There's got to be correspondence from the architect, from engineers, from the town, anything should be in that office, not in anybody's email, on their personal laptop, anything. Those records must be filed in the office. The minutes must be printed and kept in a minute book in the office. I believe the last minute book in there is from 1997. The rest are down in the basement. So if we need a 7-year period, all those records should be in the office, not in a box in somebody's garage. Nowhere
100%.
they should be in there. I can only go through, I mean, there's a lot of records that I was looking for, in particular, the contracts with the town of Mount Pleasant. Nowhere to be found. Now, they may be in the treasurer's files, but there's no reason that these contracts are not in the file cabinet. There should be no reason. So you could go in and look for them. Mike is also responsible for contracts. He didn't even know where they were. They need to be in a file in the office.
I
So,
100%.
so let's get it done.
Okay.
Whoever
So
has
let me-
those records should put them in there.
Let me ask you this, not being combative in any way, shape, or form. What can we do? What would you recommend to be the first step? Would it be to compile a list of everything that's missing, like minutes from January, minutes from June, minutes from February, or documents? I mean, how would we take our first step? I am 100% behind your
First
your
of
thought.
all the minutes should be printed and kept in a book in there. You could do it by year, do it by year, whatever you want to do. I don't know what other records that you have in your possession or are needed for the project, but those are a priority. Those records should be in that file cabinet. Okay,
think
any
you're-
resolutions, any contracts that have been signed should be in there, labeled in an envelope, in a file folder. I
Great.
know that these contracts with the town of Mount Pleasant and Mount Kisco for the protection districts, et cetera, they're coming due. I know that they have to be in there. I just know that because it's in my head. Other things that you have, I have no idea. That would be the responsibility of the commissioners and the secretary. Those files should be in the office, not in your car, not in your house, nowhere. They're
Yeah.
district properties.
All-
So that's,
The only thing I can,
I can go forward with things that I know, but anything that you're responsible for as a commissioner and the secretary should be in that office.
all right, just do me one favor. And when you say you and you and you and you, you're making implications that I think anybody watching this video may think it's me. So we is probably a better
The
choice.
board should have their
There
files
you
in the office. Okay, the board,
So,
I'll clarify.
100%
The
agree.
district record should be in the
100%.
district office.
100%, 100%. So
Okay,
because it's not like pressing immediate need to be done right now tonight, what I would encourage you to do is develop what you think would be the right thing to do. If I can help you as one commissioner, if I can help you in any way, you've got my number, and I would love you to call me, and I will help you in the basement, in the attic, in the inner room there. Whatever I can do to help, I will. And tomorrow, when I review this printer that we're thinking about leasing, this may be our way to do it. This may be the way to print out emails. So if that's something, I'd love you to help me, or let me help you. If you and any of the other commissioners have a guidance, let's
Well,
listen. Let's do it.
I'm just gonna say is I'll take care of my records and the things that I'm responsible for. The
Sure.
secretary is responsible for the district records. She
Yep.
should be in that office, and every other commissioner, whatever committee you are on, your record
Yep.
should be in there. with regard to 495/491 King Street, the project committee is responsible for the records, right? And whatever else the board has, those records should be in the file cabinet neatly labeled. So people, whoever asks for a record can go find them. All right, I mean,
Yeah.
that's common sense. So that's
Sounds
where.
good. That's a
Sorry?
good first step. I appreciate that. That's a good guidance, and that's a good first step. So I thank you for that. Do we have any other comments? I mean, the last item here on new business is confirmation of Town of Mount Pleasant Fire Protection Services for 2024. I don't know, maybe Christine, do you remember if we have to vote on this, or is this just something we wanted to discuss, which we already did a few minutes ago?
I mean, Nancy communicated with Noreen, who is the new
Sure.
comptroller in Mount Pleasant. She just said that once the board confirms the rate, that
Okay.
they would send the check.
Well,
Okay,
and I can tell you, so the entire board signed the 5-year contract, 4-year contract.
okay,
And based upon the information in the budget, the 2024 budget, which I reviewed, this number is correct.
okay,
The contract with the town of Mount Pleasant for fire protection for 2024. And as I said before, the total is $208,264.21.
okay. So
That's
you're
the
happy,
contract amount.
you're happy with that number, and it looks good to you? If you're over
Well,
your,
I mean, this is the number that the board approved doing the budget last year.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
would, going forward, you should, definitely get the accurate count from the town of
Exactly.
Mount Pleasant
exactly,
to make sure that they're not new, their new neighborhoods aren't there, that things change, new developments, etc. So you might have to update the amount for
so
2020.
that's gonna have to be an action item that we're gonna take on in very short order. We're going to have to look to see what other residences have popped up since the initial contract was signed. But if everything looks good, Nancy, can you take that on as an action item and to tell them that we have approved that number and they can go ahead and issue payment to us then?
Right, the board approved this number last year, so it's already been approved. So
But they will,
if you still agree with this, I'll contact Noreen and let her know it's okay.
okay, so
No,
what we-
all it says, it's like, as a reminder, new agreements will be drafted in 2025 for future years.
right. So we're gonna have to start thinking about doing a resurvey or an assessment of what we are covering and protecting in their district. And see if we change our billing rate to them. But right now, this number looks good for this year. So if somebody wants to make a motion, we'll vote on it as approved so that we can get back to the town of Mount Pleasant and go forward with their payment. Anybody want to make a motion that we approve this? Not
Well,
that
I
we
make
have,
a motion that the town of Mount Pleasant's 2024 aggregated contract in the amount of $208,000, $264.21 is approved by the Board of Fire Commissioners, Newcastle Fire District number 1.
okay, that's your motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
And just a reminder, you can increase the number for next year.
Right, exactly. That's why we're gonna have to go.
Contract for
Sure.
2025, you can increase it for that year.
Yes,
If
It's on assessed value.
It is on assessed value, but any new buildings, et cetera, that
Right.
have been built, et cetera, you can look at it, get the information from the controller and increase the amount for 2025, even though this contract goes through 2025.
it makes sense. Okay. All right. So are you happy with our vote now, then, Nancy? That we have
Yes.
approved?
And I will let the town know tomorrow.
Thank you. That's terrific. Okay. Quick check mark here. Okay, we don't have a treasurer's report. Because I have COVID, I didn't go up to the firehouse tonight to sign any checks or write any checks. But we have a bunch of checks, and in the absence of a treasurer, we were writing checks to cover bills, both current and coming up on past due. We want to make sure we don't go in that direction. So some of those checks are going to be co-signed tonight and will be mailed out in the morning. And when we get a bookkeeper or a treasurer, we will have a report in short order to give us a more detailed report month by month. Public comments. Do we have any public comments tonight?
I have a couple brief ones. First of all, I'm hoping that the construction committee puts this building expansion on hold till all my questions are answered. I think it's a disgrace that I can't get some of these answered in a timely manner. Well, I think it's giving an indication to everyone that there's some type of cover up. We're not explaining everything to everyone. I think it's flagging the state controller's office to review finances, conduct, and management of this project. And I hate to see that come at this point, but simple questions cannot get answered. We should have files available. All you people spend a lot of time in these plans, should answer very simple questions on the plans. And everyone should know the finances, where the money is, where it's going, where is it coming from? And they're not getting answers. And this has been going on for months. It's absolutely disgraceful, Dwight. It's absolutely disgraceful, and it needs to be addressed.
Thank you, Brian. Appreciate that. I don't disagree with the sense of your comments. I think I think you're on the right track, but I think you're using some words that are kind of a little annoying. But you know, I see where you're coming from, and I don't disagree with your comments. So
I don't want you to agree or disagree, Dwight. I want something done. This has been going on for months, including the idea of the treasurer. I mean, this has to be addressed. By the time this construction project is ending with the second floor, this is going to probably approach $20 million.
no,
And outside public, you know, like simple things. How much does equipment cost? I think between the cascade system and washer dryers alone, it's probably in the area of $200,000 or so. Where is that money coming from? Nobody seems to be able to answer those questions. I ask very simple and specific questions. If we have to remove or relocate a fire hydrant, who's paying for it? Nobody seems to know. We should know how much it's going to cost. If we have to rebuild that monument outside, the Bell Monument, what's the cost of doing that? Because there's a major crack down the middle of it, and I doubt very much you can relocate it. These are simple items that are going to add up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, and we need to at least be aware of what the total costs are.
I'm taking notes. I'm not ignoring you. Sorry.
But I just want to make sure that the letters and the emails that have come and the people that have expressed frustration over the lack of acknowledgement, response, etc., that's going to be taken care of. You know, when you get emails from ex-chiefs, letters from ex-chiefs that have received nothing, ex-chairman of the Board of Fire Commissioners, it's just a common courtesy. Thank you. I've received it. I will address it. That's it, because people honestly feel like they're not being
And addressed within a reasonable time.
correct.
You know, last thing, Dwight, I asked a question about 495. I think approximately 7 years or so, and Ed probably was around when this was going on. You did core samplings of the property around the veterinary property inside. I think at one point there was a concern about the pit that was out back where 20, 30, 40, 50 years ago, all the chemicals and pesticides were dumped into a pit. Am I correct with that? And maybe it's been mitigated. I don't remember it ever happening. Maybe it's the amount that the pesticides are small enough where it's not an issue, will eventually blend into the soil and et cetera. But we should know that before they put a shovel or a backhoe or an excavator into the ground. If it's not an issue, that's fine. But there was a report filed, there were core samples taken, and I asked for a copy of it. Nobody seems to know anything about it. And I get what?
Just let me tell you, everything that you requested, I sent to Christine and I told her, like the things you're talking about, that JMC, Joe Montefiore, can answer all those questions. And you sent that off to Joe. So, you know, it's not being ignored. It's being addressed as soon as he can come back to you.
Well, so, and this may not be an issue at all with the pesticides and chemicals. It may not be an issue, but again, we should be aware of stuff that we put an excavator in the ground, we had chemicals. We learned our lesson a number of years ago with the fuel oil tanks. I don't know if anybody remembers that at all. John Russell probably remembers it. We got two fuel oil tank and a large gasoline tank removed from the back of this firehouse. And they said there'd be a small amount of contamination. They're probably 20, 30 wheelbarrows.
That was an understatement.
Yeah, understatement, okay, which was around the neck of the fill stations, et cetera. And then we decided to remove a 300-gallon gas tank in this corner of the building right here, okay? Because while they were doing this, again, minimal amount of soil contamination, we expected that small pile out back By the time they were done this tank, we had half the lot filled with contaminated soil. We hit product. When they pulled that tank out, it looked like somebody used 00 buck and blasted the heck out of the tank.
Still using the tank.
Right.
Look like.
And there was actually a huge puddle of gasoline at the bottom of the tank. Well, that started everything. DEC, Board of Health, Building Department, and we spent a lot of money, a lot more money than we expected to take care of that thing. Yeah,
But just acknowledging that we're working on it, et cetera, would be a help, right?
Yes.
That's what Chief Maitland said. Chief Wyman said the same thing. And as you mentioned that, the file for that tank removal is actually in the file in the office.
I mean, the first two
That's in
tanks-
there.
I think with 1,000-gallon tanks, and it really wasn't an issue. We expected it. We hit that 300-gallon tank that was, actually, there was a gasoline tank used for the 1954 09 generator in the basement, which is the tank. And we decided to have to remove. I'm telling you, when they hit that thing and there was a huge puddle of gasoline at the bottom of it, all the wheels started in motion and everything stopped. And that cost us thousands upon thousands of dollars. I just don't want to see a situation, Ed, where we have the same problem, that's all.
Yeah, I totally understand everything you're saying. It's correct. And Joe Montefiore, who's the site engineer, who took care of the Chappaqua Animal Hospital, has all this information. And I asked, and you did request it from
Yep.
Joe. As soon as we get it, you will have it.
All right. Well, let's do our homework before we start digging it up.
No doubt, we took care of it.
Okay, so my takeaway from this meeting, and I hang my head in shame, I guess, is that I have been less than responsive to other commissioners and former commissioners included. I will, that is an action item that I can easily address. And I vow to you that I will be better at replying to emails going forward. It may take a little while to get all the answers, but I hope you folks will understand that my intentions are good and my intentions will not stop until the questions are answered. So if you will give me that latitude and let me understand, or let me work my way into being a better replier, we'll see how that goes until next month. I have one other thing, and it probably should have been brought up under new business, if I may return to that. And that is our project attorney has asked us via email. I'm just going to read her first sentence on the email that she sent us. It says, as the vetting of contractors is underway and bids will be awarded soon, I wanted to go over an overview of the commissioner's responsibility in selecting the lowest responsible bidder under New York state law. So she went into a fairly long letter, and I don't want to read it here. I think we all saw it. Lynn sent it out several days ago. So does anybody have any comments on that? Does anybody agree or disagree with what she said? There are some specific things that we have to do, responsibilities under state law. And I mean, there's awarding contracts stipulations. There's, if non-compliance of bid specifications, the district may do this and may do that. So does anybody have any questions or concerns or want to discuss this at all?
The only thing I would say, I would assume that Kevin is familiar with what Lynn wrote up.
I don't doubt it. I think it might make sense. Maybe, Ed, I can ask you to reach out to Kevin in the morning and see if he's received this. I think she CC'd everybody, but just make sure that he's aware of this. And it's basically stuff that we as a board have to do, not so much what he has to do, but we have to have his input on some of these contractors and bidders. And obviously, we're going to get another bidder at least in the next couple of days for the plumbing aspect. So that will be a bid opening. I think it was the 28th, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, that should be next Friday.
Well, I have a question regarding what does responsible mean? So because you picked the lowest bidder, are you being responsible? Whether that bidder might not be able to fulfill the obligation? Or if you pick the next one up, are you being responsible because you didn't pick the lowest bidder And he is more, he can fulfill the obligation probably faster or more efficiently or better than the lowest bidder. So what does responsibility mean? I mean, it's
So-
just responsibility to the lowest bidder and,
Lowest
know.
qualified bidder.
Yeah. So Charles, I presume you got a letter from Lynn.
okay,
Charles, did you get the letter from Lynn? The email?
yeah,
Okay, so I would point you to the second or third paragraph. I will just read a brief bit of it. It says the term, her words, the term, quote, responsible bidder, end quote, is not defined in the statute, and there is no uniform standard or procedure for determining whether a bidder is, quote, responsible throughout New York State, which is a little scary. So some localities have formally adopted criteria to evaluate who is a responsible bidder, but I am not aware that the district, meaning us, has done so. So she goes on into more detail and depth. So I think what we need to do is reread this and be prepared to discuss the previous bids that were sent to us and vetted last Friday. And this coming Friday, the bid opening, but we're not going to vote on that bid, the plumbing bid, bids. They have to be vetted as well. So it will be another week or two before all of that is done, the plumbing bid specifically. So let us read this thing that Lynn sent us. Let us pay attention to the plumbing bids that come in and understand that we have to work within the scope of the law and basically what she has said in this document. So let's adjourn.
I mean, I read it, and that's why I thought responsible was kind of like thrown around a little loosely. What does responsibility mean? And it seemed like it pointed to the lowest or lowest qualified bidder, right? Which might not be the best,
Might not be the
might
lowest.
might not be the
Could
best.
be, yeah, exactly. Dwight,
So
on
that-
this is a little off topic, but I did send you, ex-chief Longitano's contact information with regard to the sprinkler system, since he is
Okay.
an expert on it, and I
Yes.
asked you to follow up because we had no other bids for the sprinkler system. Did you do that with him? To
No, I
see
did not.
his
And the reason I
advice?
did not is because Kevin is confident that that bidder is one of the best in the state. We certainly can reach out to him, and I would suggest that we certainly can reach out to Al. I want to be very careful in what I say. They, as a family, they have been having some concerns,
you
troubles. So
I understand,
was
but
trying
I
to tread
just thought,
if you
yeah,
think it warrants reaching out to him, what I might suggest is that either Ed or I call him and see if he has a few minutes to talk, and not necessarily ask him to review the documents, but to ask him if he has input on the bidder that did bid,
correct.
and make it very easy for him to give us his opinion, because his opinion is valid like nobody else's, you know.
And even what the amount is per square foot. I don't know what SRI is charging, but when you talk to other engineers, they
Right.
think that may be high. I don't know. I do not know anything. I'm just concerned that only one bid came in for the sprinkler system. I have no idea if $15 or $20 per square foot is, the correct amount. I don't know. That's why I suggested talking to ex-chief Longitano, since he is known in the field and may have some input on that contractor.
It probably,
You can Google a square foot recommendation for fire sprinklers in New York State for commercial new construction. It comes back very low. And actually, one of my engineering friends who I've had a lot of discussion with said that the actual cost for this should probably be close to half of what we came up $250. But Al Longitano would know whether that's a reasonable price. He would probably know the company that's involved in this, because he's dealt with companies and sprinkler systems throughout the United States and actually throughout the world. And
Okay.
he's probably one of the leading experts in
So-
sprinkler. And he can give you a very 5-minute synopsis of what this is. Is $250 a
Right.
valid?
Or he could say, I don't have time, but just another,
Al wouldn't do that.
no, I know that.
But
But
he
just,
would,
you know, another
well,
source.
he would know.
Right.
Okay, so
It's a good price.
Right off the top of his head, absolutely.
So here's what I'm going to suggest that because Ed is an engineer and I'm not, I think what I'm going to do is ask Ed and I to make a call to Al. So if I have a question that's silly, maybe Ed can bring me back on track and we can jointly ask Al for his opinion. And we'll do that in the next, probably this coming week.
Thank you. I mean, that's just,
yeah.
you know, so we have some kind of comparison.
Right.
Thank
It makes sense. Okay, very good. Okay. Ex-Commissioner Russell, do you have any comments you'd like to bring up now?
Do you have any candidates for treasurer?
At this moment, no. Do you have anybody you would like to recommend?
No, I was curious about how you advertise for it, or do you go word of
Yes.
mouth, or do you?
We did both. We originally went out in early this year. We went out to various news media. I don't know them all. I think Christine did the publications, and we got 5 candidates initially. So we may end up doing that again. I'm not sure.
Well,
Okay.
I think, yeah, the other reason I mention it is because I think that'll help stabilize and answer a lot of questions that seem to be
Nope.
floating around, and
No argument.
you have
No.
to take baby steps. You pick one off, pick another one off, pick another one off, and things get better.
Yes,
I
that's
think
that's
that would help the board a lot, don't you want
basically what we did the last time. Yeah.
to do that?
Okay. So anything else, either of the 2 ex-commissioners out there have any comments? Okay, thank you. All right, so future dates, any commissioners have any comments they want to bring up before we close the meeting? Okay, so future dates, we have a project special meeting. It will be held on July 8th, 2024 at 6 p.m. The next regular meeting is scheduled for Thursday, July 18th, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. Email any questions and concerns for the board's consideration for any meeting to BOFC@NCFD1.org.
What
All
about
right,
your email address? Is that working or we use that one?
I
It's
missed what,
It is working?
Mhm.
So do we use the commissioner email address or the BOFC? Which one?
well, BOFC brings it to the commissioner and the treasurer. Commissioner only just brings it to the 5 commissioners.
Okay,
That's the way-
it's the commissioner and the treasurer and the secretary. of
secretary.
BOFC.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
So any other comments, or we can close the meeting now? May I have a motion to close the meeting?
Motion to close the meeting.
All right, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye. All those opposed, please say nay. Okay, thank you. This meeting is adjourned.